Hey, all you construction champions out there. I'm Ron Newsbaum. I'm your host. And once again, I am super excited about the guest we have on today. Me and Patrick have gotten to know each other the past few months, and he is an amazing guy that's absolutely killing it in residential construction. Blows my mind. I've got to get to know him and hear his story. And today on Construction Champions, you guys get to do the same. Patrick, it is great to have you here today.
Thank you so much, Ron. I'm really, really excited to be here today, and thank you so much for having me on the show. And quite frankly, all those kind words is we got a long way to go here at Momentous Building to really build out the vision that we're heading towards and to change the industry and the standard that homeowners deserve.
Awesome. I love it. And thank you for taking the time out of your day to be here with not just myself, but all the construction champions throughout the United States that'll listen into this today. Patrick, why don't you take some time and tell us about yourself so we know who you are, what you like, and what you're doing out there.
Yeah. This is always the fun part where I guess I have to talk about myself, but my life has been in the construction industry my entire life. My father he still does owns a residential construction company. So we got photos of me growing up as a baby in his lap, sitting in the excavator, playing, around and him driving it and me just hanging out. So that's really where we started off, and the construction really started for me hands on around sixth grade when it was time to get to work. In the summer times, I would be the kid sweeping floors and just clean up the job site. And my dad would drop me off in the morning and let me know what to do. And with his foreman and his guys and in a trusted environment. And he'd say, I always remember this story because it was one of the first days I ever worked. And he said, okay, you're going to sweep the floors today. I said, awesome. Yeah, sweep the floors. Well, start on the second floor and work your way down, and that way you can collect the dust as you come down and all that good stuff. And so I swept the floors. I tried to do my best job to make the job look good, make my dad happy, and all those good things. Finished up. He came by lunch, hung out, brought me lunch and all that good stuff. Made sure I had water. I was young, but I was in good hands, right? He took care of me still. It wasn't like I was unsafe, things like that. And I said, Dad, I swept the entire house. It's perfect, just like you asked. He goes, great. As we're finishing up, he goes, in the afternoon, you're going to start back up on the second floor because it's dirty again. So for my first week, um, you don't know this, but you can actually get blisters on your hands from sweeping so much. And it was a great learning experience of what hard work is and what it actually takes to put in a day's worth of work and feeling fulfilled and everything. Because I'm going to tell you right now, being that 12, 13, 14-year old where the house is perfectly clean, you can look back in the room and it's perfectly swept. There's a certain standard and a certain fulfillment that comes with that of doing labor, physical work with your hands and cleaning up. So that kind of gravitated all throughout middle school, going through high school. And high school, my senior year, it was more like part-time. I'd work during the year, and then also in the summer going to college, I worked, and enjoyed it in a weird way that most people I think today couldn't quite grasp. And I have a great father that had a successful business, has a successful business, and was able to provide me what he believed the best experience was, and that was to go to college. And he actually didn't push me and didn't want me to work for him and with him after high school. So I went to college. I got my engineering degree. And in that time period, learned other standards of how to be my best. I got a 3.97, not bragging because I'm certainly not smart, but this idea of putting our best foot forward. And if we're going to go do something, we do the best at it and not just float through. And where that led me is I got my engineering degree, and I said, I do not want to sit behind a computer all day long think and drawing the things. I want to be out there actually building it. So I went and got a commercial construction job with one of which I still to this day believe is one of the best interior fit out companies, especially in New York City, which is Structure Tone. had amazing mentors, guidance, and taught me even more about the actual construction and job site and how to be successful in construction. Um, and then during COVID, I had some time up leading up into that in my couple year stint with Structure Tone and commuting 3 hours a day, working in Manhattan. There's just certain things that I didn't see myself necessarily being happy at 30, 35, 40 with a family and all these different things. So I decided to, you know, take a step down from that construction company as they were giving me everything and I'm grateful for it, but it was a decision that I had to make for the lifestyle I want to live. So I actually went back into working with my father under an agreement that, hey, listen, I'm not going to get paid and everything, and this was unexpected, but we're going to work through this and all that stuff. So, worked for free for a couple of years and didn't have a problem with that whatsoever because I was doing what I finally loved, an environment that I loved. Um, and then, father, son, family businesses, they don't always work out. And, I always like to think, and I think it's true, is that it didn't work out because we're probably the same person, like it's like
Yeah.
arguing with yourself. And so I decided to open up my own company based on at my time, I saw the industry needed, what I saw were the pain points in residential construction, where some homeowners were going through nightmares sometimes. Sometimes there's nightmares, sometimes there's pain points, sometimes it was just knocking heads and crash landing that the actual job came out beautiful, but the whole process was, man, it was pulling teeth. Um, so I started the company Momentous Building here, and that's kind of where we're at today. We're a couple years into business, focusing on additions, interior remodels, exterior improvements, and then we like to help homeowners out that don't know who to call, so we do home maintenance too. Not as our bread and butter, but more so to extend the service of homeowners getting the right product and the right needs to make sure that their home is well taken care of and their hair doesn't go gray going through it.
That's awesome, man. What a story to get to where you are now. Absolutely killing it. I love when you talk about you saw the issues in residential construction. I absolutely love that because going into something mission first is really, really critical, I believe. Like if you have that mission at the end of the day, everything else starts to work its way out because you have that guiding error of what really matters. And it sounds like for you, it's really that customer experience.
Yeah, it really is because there is so many construction projects. Like, to be honest, Ron, it's really easy to have a construction project come out and look nice and look beautiful, right? Like there's definitely better quality work than others and these different things, but I mean, name me, there's very far and few between, maybe 5% of projects or less that you walk into and you're like, what did this guy do? It's usually like, yeah, this looks good. Like maybe it's on the budget end, maybe it's on the super high end, but it all pretty much looks good. But then there's like, well, how did it go? The homeowner. It's like, well, you were 3 months late, you didn't show up, and I got hit with all these change orders at the end, or XYZ, and just one after another, right? And it's like they went to war to get their dream project, and their dream project is now stained with the nightmare of the experience.
I love that analogy of going to war because it's what some of us feel like. I'm sure there's listeners out there right now that are driving to a job site that feels like they're headed to a war zone and not
Yeah.
a job site. And that's an amazing way to look at it because it does taint the project and it take kind of taints the industry to where people have this status quo in mind of like that's just what's going to happen on projects. So what I want to do is I'm going to ask you the $1 million question. You're a champion in the construction industry. I want to know in your mind, Patrick, what does it take to be a construction champion right now and as we head through 2023?
I think that the differentiating factor right now in the construction industry is that you have a lot of old type contractors, newer guys, some newer guys, lesser newer guys coming in and these different things. And we see a lag in customer experience and quality going into these projects, right? So what does that actually mean that a construction champion is going to deliver to the homeowner? It's going to be clear and concise and direct communication on all fronts, whether that be scheduling of work, whether that be setting expectations, whether that be documentation on, your contract, the change orders, these different things. Clear and direct communication at all fronts is going to be a foundational core of the differentiators in construction. And we see it here today. We're already seeing that.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more on how important communication really is. I know you get into these conversations and you hear pushback on clear direct communication that, oh, you're just going to confuse homeowners. How do you get around that? Because a lot of times guys are too afraid. I think guys can be afraid, not that they're too afraid, but it becomes a real sticky area where you start talking about what a project is and what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And they feel like that creates confusion for the customer. And I think I would align more with you. Like the more communication, the more clearer you are about what you're doing, the better. But how do you bridge that gap with your customers that don't understand necessarily what you're doing on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, so now this is where we have to be good, contractors have to learn how to be good business owners, right? Because we're really good at being the technician. We see a lot in residential, because residential is the easiest path to go from swinging the hammer to, you know, oh, I own a company now, right? Because I mean, most contractors, they own a company, but realistically, they just gave themselves a job.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you bridge that gap of communication? It's that you stop talking like a contractor and you start talking like a homeowner. And most people don't need to know, like the homeowner, like you're like, oh, like I had to, frame this and do that, blah, blah, blah. So, it's because of the rot and this and that and the other and all these technical details, your sill plate, your sheathing, these technical terms that I think a homeowner can definitely be educated on in the right conversation. And I think they should be. But, maybe it's just like, hey, listen, that piece of wood down there that's holding up the exterior of your house, it's gone. There's a whole bunch of water went in there. 40 years can do that. And that's the conversation, right? And that's as simple it needs to be. And then going back is the constant. That's the clear part, right? The direct part would be cutting to the chase. Don't make a 30-minute conversation that could be done in 3 minutes, right? And then consistency is where you remove that pain, Ron. Like you said, you're driving to the job site and you feel like you're going to war. You feel like that because you probably should have told the homeowner 4 days in advance what's about to happen. Like you knew you knew that meeting wasn't going to happen. You knew the guys weren't going to be late. You knew you were going on vacation a month and a half in advance. And these different things. It could have been as simple as sending a text message, just saying, "Hey, listen, you know, it's January 24th right now, 23. Hey, listen, February 24th, I got a month I got to take off, or in March, even more. The sooner the better." Most of the time, we're running away from these conversations in the fear that of disapproval. Where realistically, we're just heating up the burners and creating more pain.
I mean, there's so much to unpack from what you just said there. Like that's really good stuff. I love when you talk about talking like the homeowner, because I'm a firm believer that only about 20% of people we do business with in residential construction actually understand what's happening. And then we go in there and we're all using all these technical terms, and we actually create more confusion in the communication than good. Like it actually makes it worse
Yeah.
because 80% of the people you're talking to have no idea what a seal plate even is. but you're
Yeah.
like, oh, we got to replace the seal. And, people are really apprehensive to say, I don't know what you're talking about. They just want
Mhm.
to agree. And then they agree. And then it becomes like, I say stuff can go from 0 to 5 alarm fire in like 2 hours in construction.
Oh yeah, completely.
Like it just stuff blows up, and it's because you didn't talk. I love that. Like, just talk like the homeowner. Talk how
Mhm.
you would like it's this thing that's going to here, and point it out. Get their hands on it so they understand what you're talking about. Like that seal, it's rotted out. Poke it. Like you can feel that. Like that. That stuff goes a long ways. Like then and that's amazing. I'm super excited to know like that's what's happening out there. That's what you're doing. That's the difference. This is why you're a champion in construction. What when it comes to when okay, it was so much good stuff there. Like in the war zone. Like I mean, we're unpacking a lot. We're adding a lot of value out there. What why do you think it is? And this is kind of an industry narrative is we don't want to have those conversations. Like why I've never really quite been able to understand is like why do we not want to be proactive? Why is that kind of the industry standards to shy away from that conversation, even though we know it's going to be harder to have it later down
Mhm.
the road?
So I think it's two things, right? I think the first thing is that contractors are so good at what they do, in terms of building, is that they just think people know. Like, like, oh, I said XYZ a month ago, so that's why the bill is here, right? And the homeowner's like, yeah, but I didn't know that like a rotted sill plate was going to be a 50 grand change order,
Hmm.
right? And because you had to reframe the whole exterior of the house and renew siding and all these, So to answer your question, why do they run around it? It's that they think, or they have the assumption that the homeowner is going to understand the work that had to happen to get to there, right? And then the second one is that the fear of rejection. And we all face this, right? I mean, it's the fear that, hey, listen, if I tell you that there's going to be an extra 10, 5, even $1,000 extra of work because there's an extra day of labor that we just couldn't tell and we ran into it or whatever it may be, they think that they're going to be, the homeowner's going to be angry at them or these different things, or they won't pay, but then at the end of the day, then they send the bill with no communication whatsoever, and it's 10 times worse.
Hmm.
That's where the clear and consistency is, right? Is bringing up the problems and then being clear about what needs to get done and being direct and not making this a 30-minute conversation, but a 2 or 3, and then just asking like, hey, listen, your sill plate's rotted, the exterior of the wall, blah, blah, blah. It's probably going to be like an extra 2 or 3 weeks of work, material. This could be 30, 40 grand. What do you want to do?
I
And
like that, not
yeah,
not assuming, because I think we do that a lot as an industry where we just assume that they know and we'll just address it later. And like when we talk about that 80-20, where you got 20% of people that actually might know what's going on and
mhm,
80% that don't, like assuming it's the worst thing you could possibly do in that
yeah,
situation.
yeah. I mean, if you want to talk about, having the right um depth of information and the right language usage, right? There's 20% of people that do understand, or they're going to want to know more, right? So it's
Mhm.
a real simple question. Say, listen, this piece of wood that's holding up the exterior wall, I can stick my finger through it because there's some water damage, right? I think everyone can understand that, right? And then and they're like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, well, do you want me to explain the specifics about it? Or do I can geek out about this, all day long and make this an hour conversation. How would you like to proceed? And
Yeah,
then that puts it into their court, right? And then
let
most,
that customer dictate that conversation.
yeah,
Because some guys are going to want to be like, oh, hold on a minute.
yeah,
You mean that seal? Like you're going to fix this and you just called it a piece of wood?
yeah,
They're going, and those are the guys are going to be the ones. Hey, I got to really explain exactly what we're doing and use the terminology because that they understand it and that's what they want.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the way we kind of, and we're talking a lot about like remodeling, additions, working on existing structures. But the same thing can happen in new builds, right? Or custom projects where we're running into design changes or we're just trying to update where we're at in the project, right? Talking about scheduling, these different things. It's all around the same area. And
Hmm.
I think that really is something that changes the customer experience, right? It's just having an open dialogue.
Yeah, I love that. So what do you think? What are a couple of things that attribute to where you're at right now? Because I mean, you've come a long ways. You grew up in the industry.
Hmm.
I don't think just growing up in the industry makes a Patrick. Like you're doing the right stuff, you have the right mindset, and you truly want to make an impact throughout the construction industry.
Hmm.
What do you contribute that to? And what are the things that you're doing that keeps you on point every day?
So I think some of the things that attributes, why we stand for what we stand for and where I truly believe this company is going to go is our desire to just help people. I mean, quite frankly, we sign a contract and everything. Outside of that, I just want the homeowners to be happy because we're not building projects. We are building memories and experiences that will change how people live their lives each and every day. And that is the driving factor. We're not building a kitchen. We're building 15 years of memories with your children that will be with you for the rest of your life. And once we understand the core of what we're actually building and the depth behind it, that is the driving force on what I truly, truly love as the bigger picture. Now, the details is I just love, like I like to cook, so designing kitchens is awesome. Like it's a blast. And then the other thing is that I think what puts our company a little bit different is that we just have high standards. We're always looking to do better. We're always looking how do we communicate better, looking how do we build better, how do we make the customer experience just a little bit better. What went wrong in this project, right? We're not satisfied where we're at because we know where we're going.
I love it. That's powerful stuff. That really it is true. I say a lot of times that a remodel or renovation or a house project is going to be the probably the second biggest purchase besides that house. I know a lot of times people say a car is that second biggest purchase. They just haven't done a home renovation
Oh, yeah,
yet.
no.
So I mean, it's like this is a lot of money, and what you're talking about is we all providing that experience. Like, what is that end outcome? What are you going to do in this living room
Hmm.
down the road? And how can I make that experience better for you?
Hmm.
And going in it with that focus is that's how we continue to change the industry, and that's how we get rid of that status quo around the residential construction industry. I absolutely love that thought process. So Patrick, as we start to wrap up here today, if anybody wanted to reach out to you, contact you, say they're in your area, and we have a homeowner that wants to have you come out and talk to
Yeah.
them about renovation they have going on, how would people reach out to you, and what are the best ways to do that?
Yeah, so we're located out of Westchester County in New York, and we northern Westchester, and we service Fairfield County, Connecticut, and neighboring areas. Best way to find out about us is our website is momentousbuilding.com. I'm sure Ron will have some links in the below, but also we're quite active on Instagram and our YouTube page is where we put out primary of our content, where we help educate and inspire and just kind of showcase some of the work we do. That can be found at Momentous Building on YouTube. And my Instagram is Mr. Project Patrick. So those are the best ways if you kind of want to see what we got going on, see how we build, some of the things we're talking about, we're educating, and what we truly believe the homeowner should know before and during your next project to make sure that you're having the right conversations with the contractors, asking the right questions, and quite frankly, to make sure you're being delivered the right product.
I love it. And I love that you brought up your YouTube channel. I was going to touch base on that because you are killing it on YouTube. Let me tell you,
Thank you.
if you haven't checked out Patrick's videos, 100% required watching. Whether you're in the industry or a homeowner, he is doing great things on YouTube and educating people out there in the industry. So, Patrick, it's been absolutely fantastic talking to you today. Like he said, I'll have all his links in the show notes. So feel free to go connect with him, follow him. And hey, all you construction champions out there, like, subscribe to the show, comment. What are some questions that you have? We love having you listening. It's been great. And until next time, go be a construction champion today.